Welcome to the celebration of the 111th commencement of Hutchison School. Kindly turn off your cell phones. Please stand as you are able for the invocation by the Reverend David Powers, Idlewild pastor and head of staff.
On behalf of her leadership and her congregation, I welcome you to this place this day. We are grateful for your presence here to continue this wonderful tradition of honoring our graduates today. Whether you gather at the foot of the cross or under the Star of David or the crescent of Islam, or you follow some other noble path towards truth, I invite you to join me in a word of prayer. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks that you are with us in every stage of our lives. We give you thanks particularly this morning that you are with us during threshold moments like this one. So we pray that your Spirit would fall fresh upon us as we celebrate these graduates today, that your Spirit might be made known to us in celebration and in reflection, in gratitude and in hope for the future. For we ask it in the name of our great teacher, the one that authors our future in love. Amen.
Thank you, David. Please be seated. Good morning, graduates. Such an exciting day, marking the end of a long journey together and the beginning of a very new chapter. This year, I've admittedly struggled in thinking of a topic for today. You've heard some wonderful words of wisdom, from faculty and administrators throughout the year. You've heard pearls of wisdom from classmates in senior speeches. I can only tell you so many times what a remarkable class you are. So I sat at my computer, staring at the screen, when I glanced down and I noticed a birthday card that has been sitting on my desk now for over a month. It was sent to me by my lifelong very best friend, Alyssa, for my 51st birthday. I'm 3 weeks older than she is. We grew up on the same street, and we went to school together all the way through. We were in each other's weddings, we've held each other's newborns, and we have been together for every high and low in life. It's an incredible blessing. The front of this card says, "My friends have made the story of my life." I'm not sure a truer statement has ever been uttered. You sit today amongst your dearest friends, and I urge you to stay connected. I'm fortunate to have remained very close to 4 of my childhood best friends. That may not seem like very much, but you have to remember when we scattered all the way across the country for college, we had no cell phones. We had no email. There was one payphone on my freshman hall, so we wrote each other letters and actually had to buy stamps and put them in the mail. It all seems incomprehensible now. I mean, I wasn't churning butter or listening to music on a phonograph or anything. But I haven't lived in my hometown since I was 18, so staying connected to those friends took some effort. What's actually most interesting about that friend group is that we are incredibly different. When we were young, our differences in personality weren't quite so stark. Today, we are a motley crew. We have varying political viewpoints, different interests and hobbies, have had very different parenting styles, and approach all that we do from diverse perspectives. But the richness of our conversation is better because of it. Each in her own way has pushed me to consider different viewpoints, stretch my thinking, challenge my assumptions, and delight in topics and experiences that otherwise I might not have. You are so ready to excel in college and in life. You will continue to grow your knowledge and your capacity, and I have no doubt that each of your lights will shine and you will make the world a better place. So my challenge to you is to stay connected. Look at the women that surround you now and remember that they really will write the story of your life. Whether you talk or text daily or sporadically through the year, you share a common bond that is so very important. Hutchison will bind you forever. Be a good friend, as friendships will help you weather every storm, and your friendships will truly make the story of your life. Now, the Meg Thomas Student Speaker Award was endowed by an anonymous donor who was so impressed with the speeches of Hutchison girls, he established this award. The senior class has chosen Isabel Mansour to speak on its behalf as the Meg Thomas Student Speaker. Thank you.
Good morning, class of 2023, family, friends, and Hutchison faculty. I know this speech is often given by a 12-year girl, but I feel as though I have a special perspective to share with you all about my 4 incredible years at Hutchison. I did not know what to expect coming from a co-ed school like GSL to an all-girls school like Hutchison, but I have found the most valuable things here are the relationships I've made with this class, the teachers, and all the other students in upper school. I have learned an immeasurable amount of lessons throughout my years at Hutchison. The greatest ones of all being to never send Juliet Taylor a mirror selfie that you took in the 6th grade, and to never underestimate yourself. In that spirit, I would like to take you all to the year 2040, when most of the class of 2023 is 35 years old. As I have always been taught to think big, the morning of May 15th, 2040, I wake up in my humble abode, known as the White House. I, alongside my Vice President, Sarah Davis McAllister, was voted to be the first female president of the United States. In our time in office, we've already nominated Olivia Sykes to be the newest Supreme Court Justice, even though she didn't do mock trial, and appointed Emmy Walton to be the new head of NASA. Emmy ends up hiring Margaret Perotti to become the lead astronaut at NASA, and legend has it that if you look up into the sky, you can see her strawberry ginger hair from Earth. In DC, we are joined by Senator Olivia McCarver, who has won re-election for the 2nd time. Because our grade GroupMe has remained extraordinarily active, the class of 2023 insists on having yearly class reunions after college. Mary Grove, who moved to the UK and somehow found herself appointed to the House of Lords and rooming with classics professor Alex Peet, could not make it to this year's reunion. Vice President Sarah Davis advised me that it was best to appoint Addie as the U.S. Ambassador to Italy and Hannah Gale as the U.S. Ambassador to China, as they are both fluent in their respective languages and knowledgeable of both countries. So they could not make the reunion as well. As I am on my way to the airport, I see Callie's face plastered onto a bus, as she is now the CEO of Morgan & Morgan Attorneys at Law. I also see an advertisement for Lucy Chioz's new film, starring Kendall Brown, written by Anna Hunter, and designed by Alex Beard, named Bees All That, a live-action remake of the Bee Movie. In the airport, I see a smaller version of Mary Johnson's reimagined and revolutionized city silo called Majos, which are all managed by the businesswoman Lucy Lamberson. At my gate, because I refuse to fly private, I see an ad for Gabby Yambrick and Lily Wilson's new art gallery, dedicated solely to promoting female artists. This advertisement is put on by Juliet Taylor, Sarah Burns, and Kate's successful advertising and marketing agency, who eventually hired Annabelle and Gaines as well, after they spent the past 2 years on reality dating shows trying to find the one. The agency also helps to advertise Calder and Lacey's new tech startup called No Math that fully eliminates the need for students to learn AP Calculus in higher education. Sorry, Miss Wheaton. Speaking of not flying private, Mary Faith Sharp and Elwood Winsey have made internationally known names for themselves by solving environmental problems around the world. On the flight, I tune into a gripping TED Talk delivered by Zoe Zerwig Ford about her work integrating philosophical thought into artificial intelligence. After that, I watch Eliza Hussey and McAdam Wilburn sell million-dollar houses designed by Nyla Johnson and their extremely popular and drama-filled spin-off of Selling Sunsets. The digital marketing for this show was brilliantly organized by Elena Kate, who, despite matching as a crossing guard on her career search test, now runs her own firm. She has also helped to market Helen Kastner's new book on psychology called How to Avoid Being Photographed. The mystery that is Helen Kastner. My final watch on the plane is an incredibly cheesy and heartwarming Hallmark movie starring Alexandra Hauser and Virginia Billions. I eventually found that Berkeley was actually the pilot of the plane flying me to Memphis. in the Memphis International Airport, which now actually has international flights, I see McLean and Emery, who both work as leaders in revolutionizing the special education curriculum in the U.S. I also run into Sarah Bardish, who is a business executive of a multinational corporation that I cannot disclose according to the NDA that her lawyer, Angela Jacobs, made me sign. As I stand in the Memphis airport and gaze west, all I can think about is that I'm staring in the direction of Mary Abbott's land just across the Mississippi. Mary Abbott, now the governor of Arkansas, initiated her first act, which was to change the pronunciation of her great state to Arkansas, which was met with severe backlash. As I drive by a First Horizon bank, I'm reminded of their new leadership of Catherine Demento and Katie Frazier. My Apple Music playlist comes upon the amazing collaboration between Brooke Fair, Estelle Turner, and Ava Wilson that has already won the Grammy Award for Song of the Year. Speaking of awards, Eleanor Merchant has just been awarded the Fields Medal for her work in mathematics, and Ellie Deal has been awarded the Nobel Prize for her work in chemistry, both of which have a Hutchison printer named after them, the highest honor of all. Audrey Graves has been named the MVP of the U.S. women's soccer team. Zoe Peltz has won 4 Grand Slams for her tennis acumen. Avery Arkle has won a gold medal in bowling, which is now actually an Olympic sport. Arabella Hall and Morgan Simmons have won gold medals in golf, as has Eva Lease in volleyball. And Colby and Anna Margaret have won the World Lacrosse Championship, which I only recently discovered was a thing. Shelton Vance and Emma Abbey have won countless awards for their work as the official physical therapists for the Memphis Grizzlies. Parks Renovich and Eleanor Bridgeforth are now successful doctors at Mayo Clinic. And Claiborne Collier is a world-renowned pediatric surgeon. Claudia, who graduated from Dartmouth Medical School, Riley Coopwood and Desai Ringer are all pioneers in neuroscience. Lorelei Forget and Emma Couch are top researchers at the CDC and actually prevented another global pandemic in 2031. C.Q. Gintz and Juliette Forget are both stars on Broadway. Mally Patton, Laura Grace Stafford, and Adji Muller are all successful designers for Vogue magazine. Harper Vance has been selected to be the new head of Teach for America. And Emily Grace has expanded She Leads to a global level. As I walk into Le Bistro, I cannot find Kennedy, as she is making millions as the official dentist of a small country in Central America. Caroline Napier and Julia Knowlton are right at home at Hutchison as they are the new heads of early childhood. I found that recently Liza Watson has started a very successful dating site specifically for people 65 and older and became a billionaire. And Ruby is now the host of America's Next Top Model. When I approach Chloe Brown, all she does is hand me a mini snow globe, as she somehow now has an underground monopoly on the mini snow globe market, which is actually extremely competitive. Isabel Sneed helps with Chloe's marketing, as well as helping Antonella market her very successful chain of dancing studios. Zane tells me about her work establishing an international equity and inclusion initiative within the United Nations. I also learn about Morgan Nichols' exploding art therapy business and the work Reese, Gloria, and Lily Eggers are doing as traveling nurses. So the next time you've fallen and can't get up, give them a call to nurse you back to health. Margaret Rue and Catherine Luter go on and on about their careers traveling the world, teaching underprivileged children about the art of miming. Finally, there's a lot of speculation about the mysterious Caroline Adams. Some say she has started a cult. Others say she has gone off the grid on her sailboat. But either way, she makes an enormous amount of money and makes an appearance at every reunion with Gibson donuts in hand. As you can see, the class of 2023, the largest class in Hutchison's history, perfectly embodies anywhere she can imagine. Our aspirations to reach for the stars, however, could never have taken root if it were not for the support system that is Hutchison. We have never been told that our opinions do not matter, that we are being too hysterical, that we cannot think for ourselves because of our youth. We've been empowered to share our thoughts. We have been encouraged to give ourselves space to emote, and we have been taught to challenge beliefs and ask questions not despite our youth, but because of it. Hutchison recognizes how fundamental this portion of our development is as individuals, and that recognition has allowed me to understand and view the world through a more intellectual and empathetic lens. As any self-assured freshman coming to Hutchison, I thought my perspective of the world was already formed. I thought I knew who I was, but of course I was wrong. If it were not for AP Human Geography with Mr. Francis and learning about the impact that the education of women has on the demographic and economic development of entire nations, I would not have decided to pursue international political economy as a career. It was then that I realized that I had literally no idea who I was, but I had an idea of who I wanted to choose to be. The concept of choice that Hutchison offered to me is something that I've noticed a lot of girls that have been here for their entire lives have come to expect. This expectation of choice and mutual respect is not necessarily reflective of what we as women will be greeted with in the real world, but I think that's the beauty of Hutchison, a school for girls. We have been shown exactly the kind of freedom to question and the freedom to stand up for ourselves that we deserve to have, that we should fight to have. Rather than sheltering us, the incredible teachers and administrators at Hutchison have shown us that our voices matter and that we should not settle for less, but strive for more. There's a saying that goes, you get a strange feeling when you're about to leave a place. Like you'll not only miss the people you love, but you'll miss the person you are now at this time in this place, because you'll never be this way ever again. I will miss the debriefs in the senior commons. I will miss Mr. Talcott's perpetual jabs at me. I will miss going to the college counselors for literally anything. I will miss getting attacked by stickers on the first days of school. I will miss seeing the faces of my 89 sisters every day. Most especially, I will miss the person this class and this school has helped me to become. As we move on to a different phase in our lives, away from our home of 15, 12, 4, or maybe 1 year, I have faith in every single one of the girls in the class of 2023 to become the change they want to see in the world. As we all know, we are girl smart, world ready. Congratulations to the greatest class to walk the halls of Hutchison, and I know you will do amazing things. Thank you.
I am now happy to present Hutchison's choral group Vocal Point, who under the direction of Hannah Good Crowley, class of 2008, will sing our traditional graduation hymn, Onward, Onward Ye Peoples. It is my pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker, Elizabeth Wilson Pelly, class of 2000. Elizabeth Wilson Pelly serves as co-founder, owner, and creative director of Mary Mill Farm and Vineyard in Keswick, Virginia, along with her husband, Guy. Pelly holds a Bachelor of Arts in Studio Art from the University of Virginia. She spent a year in advertising at Carpenter Sullivan in Memphis before embarking on a different career path. From 2005 to 2008, Pelly worked in the White House for former Vice President Dick Cheney, running the operations of his office, planning political events, and traveling extensively with him domestically and to the Middle East and Europe. After leaving the White House, she became an event planner and producer in New York City for Van Wyck and Van Wyck. She went on to earn a master's in art and museum studies from Georgetown University, studied art and business at Sotheby's Institute of Art in London, and interned at the renowned Dickinson Art Gallery. Pelly and her husband have 3 daughters.
Good morning, ladies. And can I just say a very special good morning to my 2 graduating nieces, Gaines Snyder and Ava Wilson. I'm really, really proud of you girls, and it's an honor addressing you among this crowd of graduates. I must say, when I got the call from Dr. Ring, I was surprised, and actually I called my dad to tell him I had been asked to give this commencement address, and his exact words were, "Well, Lizzie, you could have told me a lot of things, but I did not expect that." And he's here today, so Dad, I'm still not sure how to take that. But here I am, and I'm so happy to be here. When thinking about what knowledge or what advice to impart to you beautiful, well-rounded young women, entrepreneurship came to mind immediately. Entrepreneur is a word I knew from a really young age, though I couldn't spell it. And to be totally honest, I still can't spell it. I spell check myself every time. But you see, growing up, I had dinner every Sunday night with a man textbooks would call one of America's greatest entrepreneurs, Kemmons Wilson. But to me, he was just granddaddy. Today, I want to speak to you about my grandfather's journey and my journey and the concurrent themes between them. Our shared journey of creating something different, about discovering and nurturing confidence, about trusting our instincts, taking risks, and persevering in the face of the unknown and in the face of failure. As I reflected on my journey, I realized that my journey actually started with his. So to begin, I'll have to take us back to 1952. Picture this, a family of 5 driving from Memphis, Tennessee to Washington, D.C., easily a 15-hour car journey. American car travel was gaining popularity during this time. And when you needed a break from the drive, you'd stop at a mom and pop motel on the side of the road, literally on the side of the road. And it was customary to inspect the hotel room before you commit for the night. So imagine that, driving all day with your kids in the car, and you're tired and you stop and you get out, and the first room you look at is completely uninhabitable. So back in the car, you stop again. The next room is unsafe. Back in the car, you stop again. The next room is unclean. You get the picture. It's exhausting. Back then, there were no standards, there were no rules, and there was very little by means of comparison. You just wanted a clean, safe room for you and your family for the night. My grandparents settled on a motel, and 5 children equipped with individual sleeping bags and pillows all piled in. Upon checkout, my grandfather was horrified to be confronted with a $16 bill for a room he and the proprietor agreed would be 6. Well, you see, there was a hidden charge, $2 per extra guest in the room. 5 kids, $10. This did not sit well with my grandfather, particularly because it wasn't fair and it didn't encourage American family travel. He decided that day he would start a hotel chain. Every room would be standardized, no surprises. You know exactly what you're going to get. The size of the room, the quality of the sheets, the size of the bed, the towels. There would be a restaurant, a lounge, a swimming pool, air conditioning, ice machines. A lot of stuff that we take for granted did not exist. Oh, and kids would always stay for free. My grandmother said, "All right, Kemmons, so just how many of these hotels are you going to build?" 400, he replied. She laughed at him, and this really incentivized him. But he saw an opportunity, an incredibly untapped market. His idea was born out of inconvenience. He had an experience he didn't like, and he wanted to change it. He had a gut feeling that he could make something better. So he wanted to build an American hotel families could trust and afford. And that was the birth of Holiday Inn. The first Holiday Inn was actually built right here in Memphis and opened August 1st, 1952. And he didn't build 400 like he said he would. By the time he retired, there were 1,700 Holiday Inns in 50 countries. And in 1972, he was on the cover of Time magazine as the man with 300,000 beds. So how did he do it? He took a risk. And just like the title of his memoir, it was half luck and half brains. And in my mind, a lot of confidence. Another thing that came to mind when thinking about my speech was just that, confidence. Entrepreneurship and confidence go hand in hand. And confidence is something that Hutchison instilled in me. I was never afraid to raise my hand to ask the dumb question or to raise my hand to answer the smart one. I was never afraid to try out for a play or a sport. It was an environment that Hutchison created, and I'm very grateful for that. But there's a big difference between confidence and arrogance, a big difference. My grandfather could not have gotten where he did. He could not have built his empire if he thought he knew it all. But he had the bravery and the confidence to start. He chose opportunity over security, something that my dad encouraged me to do as well. And he had the brains to know his limits and where to seek advice and help from others. So little did I know that I'd be tapping into these same themes within my grandfather's story when I began my personal entrepreneurial journey. After graduating Hutchison and the University of Virginia and receiving a master's degree at Georgetown University, I worked in government, event planning, the arts, and 4.5 years ago, I landed on a farm in Keswick, Virginia, as an entrepreneur. I'm the owner and the co-founder, along with my husband, Guy, and the creative director of Mary Mill Farm and Vineyard, and I'm the owner of Feast. Mary Mill Farm is our home as well as our business. We have 12 acres of grapes and produce about 3,000 cases of wine a year. We invite guests to our tasting room on the property to enjoy the views, taste the wine, eat the food, and take in the experience. And Feast is a gourmet grocery store and a cafe with a robust self-service catering arm. So, how did I do it? Well, just like my grandfather, I only needed the confidence to start. I didn't wait until I had all the confidence in the world. I didn't wait until I had it all figured out, because I know that no one has it all figured out. But I knew that if I started to do this one thing, and I started going, that my confidence would build even more, even when, and especially when, you make mistakes. So every decision won't be a golden goose, but it'll educate you on how to adapt, create, and build upon your idea in a creative way. So let's talk about risk. Moving from a comfortable life in London to a farm in the middle of Virginia to start a brand new career was a risk. It was crazy, actually. And if I'm being totally honest, it felt like a mistake for a few years. My husband and I bought a farm, moved internationally with a baby, planted a vineyard, and built a business from the ground up. A business about which we had a feeling, but zero experience. When I started out, I knew the difference between red and white wine. Not exactly the depth of knowledge you need to build a business around, right? But we found mentors and consultants, and we leaned on them. And the learning curve was and still is steep. But we had the confidence to board the plane, to plant the vines, to take the steps. And we had the humility to seek advice where we could find it. Confidence is just as much about knowing your self-worth and trusting your intuition as it is about knowing your limitations. We don't make our wine, we outsource that. We knew it was out of our wheelhouse, and so we leave that to the professionals. What we knew was hospitality. My husband ran nightclubs in London, and I have hospitality running through my veins, courtesy of my grandfather and my family business. And what I created at the tasting room at Mary Mel is totally different than any other tasting room around. Every other tasting room has the same aesthetic, a converted barn on a big, beautiful farm. But I had a gut feeling, like my grandfather, that this experience could be better. I saw something that others didn't. I saw an opportunity to do something different, to do something better, and I took it. And I used my love and knowledge of art and design to do it. The furnishings in the tasting room are an eclectic mix of old and new. There's personal artworks on the walls and stories everywhere you look. It could take me hours to show you around the place because every piece, every curiosity has a story. Others thought I was crazy to put this much into the decor of the place, but that's my passion. Art, design, and creating experiences for people. It's often been described as a scene from Alice in Wonderland, which is a comparison I love. To be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be brave. You've got to push the envelope, be unique, trust your gut, and listen to your intuition. The space is very personal and very high on design. For example, I have a 150-year-old Victorian taxidermy sea lion hanging from the ceiling on pink resin balloons. And all this was a risk I took to create something different, out of the box, away from the norm. And through the process, I learned something about myself too. I'm a maximalist. More is more. So knowing where we came from, it's really rewarding to tell you that since its inception in 2018, Mary Mel has released 12 wines, and that number's growing yearly. And after our first year, we won the Best of Charlottesville's Best Small Winery in 2022. My role as creative director extends beyond the space to the wine labels, for example. And I'm proud to tell you we've won some awards for our wine labels. Beating out big national brands like PepsiCo and Tecate, we won Silver Place for Best Use of Packaging at the Transform Awards, a design award in New York City. Not bad for a small family-owned winery in rural Virginia. And similarly, I've never worked in the food industry, but I saw an opportunity in Feast and I took it. It wasn't a great time to buy another business. My current business, Mary Mel, was still trying to break even, but I could see potential synergies between the two businesses, and I took another risk. And I'm standing here before you now, not 20 years from now in my 60s, looking back at all my success. I'm 41 and I'm in the middle of it, hoping that these businesses will be successful. And that's the point. It's just as important to appreciate where you are and how you got there as is the end result. And every true entrepreneur cannot tell their story without bringing up the word failure. Because if you try enough, you will no doubt encounter failure. It's inevitable. In our first year, we had a freak frost, the latest frost in something like 100 years. It damaged 80% of our vines and killed our very first harvest. Imagine that, after all the work, our first harvest done. It was heartbreaking, and it put us an entire year behind schedule. We had a wine tasting room to open with no wine. This was not ideal. But we learned to pivot and change the plan, and we found a solution. You can't be too confident to think you'll skirt failure, but don't be discouraged. Learn from it and keep going to find a solution. So there have been many studies on men and women in entrepreneurship. And the bottom line is men heavily outnumber women in the risky world of entrepreneurship. Boys are more likely to take a risk. As a gender, girls just aren't wired that way. Why? I've done some research on this because the fact is that women are just as innovative as men, and women-owned companies can be just as successful as men. But why don't they start? Some of this is trait-based. It's hubris versus humility. Men are more likely to be overconfident, and women are more likely to be humble. Now, there's that word again, confidence. But this time, overconfidence, which you might think is a negative thing. But in the lottery game of starting a business, it might just be the trait that you need. I know one thing, my grandfather was overconfident. When one idea failed, he didn't stop there. He kept going until something stuck. And thank goodness it was a good one. But let me tell you, he had nearly 400 businesses that didn't stick. 400. So what does it mean to be overconfident? It means having perseverance. It means learning from your mistakes and failures and continuing to try. It means listening to your intuition and trusting your gut and taking a risk even when it feels crazy. It means having confidence in your self-worth, knowing your self-worth. This makes you less afraid to fail because the outcome is not tethered to who you are as a person. The outcome is not a reflection of your self-worth. Women are less likely to be overconfident. After failure, women are more likely to say, oh, well, I guess this just isn't for me, which is a rational reaction and a way to be. And this self-preservation benefits women individually, but as a group, it hurts us because there are not enough women entrepreneurs out there. And this may be historically because women were the caretakers of the household. There's a social expectation to stay home. There are less women role models in these high-risk roles. There's more pressure on women to balance work and family. Tell me about it. It's a boys' game in the concept of homophily, which is the tendency to be attracted to people like you. Birds of a feather flock together. Women don't belong to these heavily dominated male networks. Women's humility and lack of confidence makes them less encouraged by success and more discouraged by failure. Ladies, I think this is a thing of the past. I think that trend is changing, and I think some of you in this room are going to help change it. When Guy and I dreamed up the idea, I called my brother asking for advice, and he said, okay, great, Virginia, wine. Well, have you looked in any other wine regions like California? No, I said. Okay, well, when you visited Virginia, how many other farms did you look at? Just one. So I didn't think I had it in me, but that's overconfidence, and maybe just what I needed to take the first step. And I can tell you that I'm proud to be a female entrepreneur. I'm proud to be a working mother and setting example to my 3 girls, so maybe one day they'll never know there was a gender discrepancy. Maybe taking calculated risks will be in their blood too. And my 6-year-old Willow is here in the audience. Hi, Willow. Now, all this entrepreneurship talk may strike a chord with you. It may not. You may know your career, your path, medical, philanthropy, social services, education, or you may have no idea, which is okay. But the principles and the lessons still apply. Be your biggest cheerleader. Be overconfident, but not arrogant. Trust your gut, even if you think you might not have good intuition yet. Be honest about your limitations. Ask for help and advice when you need it. If you don't know how to do something, find someone who does and learn from them. I also think it's important to see yourself the way others do. See the best in you that others see. When I got the call from Dr. Ring, I was really stopped dead in my tracks. I didn't see myself as someone who might stand here and address this group. But funny enough, the day Dr. Ring called me, what she didn't know was that very day I was closing a deal to buy my second business, Feast. And the only reason I picked up the phone is I thought it might be a lawyer. I didn't see myself as someone worthy of this honor, but that call, asking me to stand here before you and speak to you wonderful women, that gave me a boost of confidence I needed during a scary business transaction. And it made me realize maybe I do have something to say. Like I touched on before, I didn't start my first business until I was 36. I never had a really clear career path. I worked in government, politics, arts. I lived in Memphis, DC, New York, London. I wasn't focused from a young age on where I wanted my life to go. And the thing is, you don't have to know. But you have to keep your ears and your eyes, your heart and your mind open for opportunities. As scary as it seems, I challenge you not to be afraid to put yourself out there and take a risk. If your gut tells you something can be done differently, do it better. And again, choose opportunity over security. Never stop listening, never stop looking, and if you're like me, never stop pushing the envelope. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you. I am pleased to present now the junior class who have prepared a gift of song for the class of 2023. Success in a challenging college preparatory program is the result of native gifts put to good use, a mixture of God-given talent and consistent hard work. It is my pleasure to recognize the girls who have maintained the highest academic performance during their senior years and over the course of 4 years in the upper school. These awards are based on the accumulated grade point average and represent success in the most rigorous courses the school has to offer. The students who have earned the second highest grade point average during senior year are Katie Frazier, Callie Hutton, Angela Jacobs, and Eleanor Merchant. The students who have earned the highest grade point average during senior year are Sarah Bardish, Lorelei Forget, and Sarah Davis McAllister. Now the awards for achievement over the 4 years of upper school. Second highest honors go to Sarah Bardish. And the top academic honors for the class of 2023, representing the highest grade point average over the past 4 years, is awarded to Lorelei Forget. Congratulations to each of you.
The Russell Award honors both the recipient and the donor. Mr. Edward Percy Russell was a former chairman of the Hutchison Board of Trustees. He was a great friend of the school and an outstanding citizen of Memphis. This award is presented to the senior who embodies the ideals and values on which the school was founded. Through her leadership, she brings honor to herself and to the school. The faculty and administrators were honored to select the recipient of the Russell Award for 2023, Kate Wunderlich. The Ideal Hutchison Girl honors the student who best exemplifies the qualities described in Proverbs 31: honesty, understanding, trustworthiness, courtesy, humility, industry, sincerity, obedience, and nobility. By vote of the students in the upper school, this year's Ideal Hutchison Girl is Anna Hunter.
Will the class of 2023 please stand? On behalf of the faculty and administration of Hutchison School, I declare that the members of the class of 2023 have successfully completed the graduation requirements of the school. In recognition of their diligent efforts, they are to receive their diplomas. Seniors, please be seated as we begin the presentation of your diplomas and the gifts of Scripture. Mary Abbott Elliott. Margaret Leslie Patton. Alexandra Josephine Hauser. Berkeley K. Cyphers. Caroline Margaret Lovell Adams. Addie Brown Halliday. Reese Elizabeth Godwin. Ruby Esther Namias. Sarah Emery Brown. Mary Faith Sharp. Catherine Warren Luter. Chloe Jean Brown. Jeannie McCadden Wilburn. Emma Walsh Couch. Elizabeth Louise Watson. Lucille Gray Chioza. Zoe Marie Zerwig Ford. Anna Margaret Boyd Weber. Arabella Tara Hall. Eleanor Rose Woodmansey. Sarah Fagan Bardish. Caroline Cecilia Napier. Callie Frances Hutton. Mary Asher Johnston. Sarah Davis McAllister. Virginia Humphreys Billions. Emma Pierce Abbey. Gabriella Elizabeth Yambrick. Ellie Juliana Deal. Alacia Zykia Williams. Juliette Stella Forget. Lilith Owsley Eggers. Victoria Estelle Turner. Avery Merriweather Arkle. Catherine Claiborne Collier. Laura Grace Stafford.
Desay Alexandra Ringer. Zoe Vita Peltz. Mary Grove Gilbert. Catherine Elizabeth Fraser. Audrey Marie Graves. Agnes Chandler Muller. Lorelei Phoenix Forget. Hannah Gale Flatt. Kendall Elise Brown. Antonella Lucila Leyva. Angela Faye Jacobs. Riley Nicole Coopwood. Morgan Dunaway Simmons. Sarah Crump Burns. Julia Scott Knowlton. Morgan Deanna Nichols. Catherine Isabel Mansour. Isabel Kaylin Sneed. Shelton Lee Vance. Helena Kate Angelikis. L. McLean Pogue. Gaines Elizabeth Snyder. Juliette Claire Taylor. Elizabeth Parks Renovich. Lucy Elaine Lamberson. Kennedy Bliss Adioba. Eliza Henderman Hussey. Claudia Marie DeMonts. Harper Reese Vance. Olivia Bennett Sykes. Alexandra Elizabeth Catherine Peet. Ava Carrington Wilson. Catherine Kennedy Demento. Catherine Olivia Cohen. Alexandra Elizabeth Beard. Helen Catherine Kastner. Emily Ellis Walton. Brooke Pierce Fair. Sarah Calder Trotz. Anna Christie Hunter. Gloria Elizabeth Bird. Eleanor Catherine Merchant. Margaret Williams Rue. Evelise Amaris Hall. Catherine Ann Wunderlich. Zane Geis Amro. Lillian Francis Wilson. Olivia Grace McCarver. Eleanor Bell Bridgeforth. Annabelle Marie Flanders. Margaret Alma Allison Parati. Cynthia Quinn Avery Gintz. Nyla J. Johnson. Emily Grace Cater. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hutchison class of 2023.
Class of 2023, you now join the ranks of alumni of Hutchison School. We extend our sincere congratulations. You have a very special place in our hearts, and we treasure our years with each of you. We pray that you go forth in faith, service, and love. Please stand and join us in singing the alma mater, which is printed in the back of your program.
Receive this benediction. Receive this benediction this day. May you be richly blessed as you go from this place, as you move into this new season of life together. May your eyes be so blessed that you would see the needs of your neighbors, your ears so that you might hear the cries of the oppressed, your hands that you might tend to the wounds of your friends, your feet that you might run to those on the margin. And may your heart be so blessed that it overflows with joy and love into the world. So may the God of hope strengthen each of us this day. May you go from this place with courage and grace and confidence.